I've got the perfect intro for your podcast. You ready? Here we go. Ladies. Hey, gentlemen. Are you ready? Four. The pod, band, pipe, cast.
There's a lot of feedback in this Zoom call. Everybody's internet okay?
Let's have that be the new intro. Alex, we're going for it. That's it for this episode. We're doing it. Welcome back, everyone. Hi.
Welcome.
How's it going?
Been a while.
Yeah.
Been a week.
I think we all know the drill.
He's got a drill, you guys.
Dad jokes.
I like it. It's good. That's what our show's about. It's about dad jokes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Two dads having fun.
Here we are talking to Elijah Woodward yet again on the Podband podcast, and he's talked to us about his dancing career, or not dancing career. I mean, he did dance.
A little bit of dancing.
yeah, I'll touch on that.
If you missed that, that was the last episode. So I don't know what you're doing here, but go back and listen to that, because there might be spoilers in this episode. We don't know. We don't always.
Hasn't started yet. Yeah.
Roll the dice.
But now it's starting, and you're here, so that's important. And we've got some good questions for Elijah about himself and just piping in general.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Go for it, Kaylee.
Okay, I'll go for it. So, tell me, sir, you've played a lot of solos previously, because no one can do anything right now in terms of that sort of thing. But
Boy, no kidding.
you played a lot of solos before, and in 2020, you made your return to the solo competing world.
Yes, I did, for one contest.
You were all hyping it up. I remember in December, you were like, guys, 2020 is going to be my year for solos. And we're like,
yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for causing this. So let's back up.
No, okay, but like by solo, he meant like just being solo.
Oh man, Adela. Oh, wrecked.
Little did we know he was
Too real.
So we'll talk about that in a minute, but first, go back, way back when you did your first ever solo piping contest. What made you want to do that in the first place?
Oh boy, man. So it was probably my never-ending need to appease those in charge of me. And by that I mean, so in the previous podcast we were just talking about, my first instructor was a guy named Chuck Bergen. And Chuck told me flat out right up front, he goes, you are going to compete in solos. And I was like, all right, cool, because I was 13. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that there was I didn't know any other options. You're going to compete in solos. And I said, all right, cool. So my first contest with the band and soloing, evidently, was Pleasanton, like 2000, or was it 1999? I'm trying to remember now. It was a long time ago. But anyway, that was my first contest with the band. It was 1999. That's right. It was pre-2000. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking too hard about this. Anyway.
Show where Elijah tries to figure out dates. That's
This is where you find out that Alzheimer's is real in your 30s. Anyway, so Chuck's like, yeah, I know you're going to go solo. I'm like, all right, cool. And then like I end up hearing all these stories prior to like the day of my contest about how Chuck used to get super nervous and like to the point where he would start vomiting, blood because he would be so nervous. And I was like, wait, how bad is soloing? Like, this sounds scary. So I get up there and I go do it, and I do all right. I end up, I didn't place in the 2/4, but I got like third place in the slow march. And I was like, all right, this is fun. This is cool. Like 13-year-old me was like, heck yeah, dude, I got a little medal out of this. Like, this was worth the trip. Rock on. Let's do this, right? And that was kind of the big thing that made me want to do solos is I didn't know any better. I was just kind of like, that's what the instructor said I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do solos. I guess I do solos. And as time went on, it became more of a thing of like, it was an opportunity for me to challenge myself It was an opportunity for me to understand what it takes to, maintain and have that degree of excellence. That, I don't think there's a whole lot of other things in the world that give you that same level of stress and anxiety and give you that opportunity to go out there and perform. For example, a job interview. You're sitting there, it's you one-on-one with the hiring manager, 1-on-3 with the oral board or wherever it might be, and you are there to demonstrate your skills and knowledge and whatever bona fides you have and why you are qualified for this position, right? And I feel bad for the average kid or adult going into these job interviews, because what experiences do they have that prepare them for that? I can't think of anything, right? Like, does standing up in front of your class giving a book report really give you that experience? No, because there's something about that diffused responsibility of a group or an audience. Like, when it's just you one-on-one, like, that is another human or another 2 or 3 humans evaluating you as a human at that moment. And you're like, this is breathtaking. And that's what solos really, I think, does a great job of, like, giving you a gut check of is like, you are about to be evaluated one-on-one, your quality of your performance and the skill. How do you do? And that being said, going to a band contest directly after that makes band playing so much easier, because it gives it like that safety of being with your friends in a group. And again, you feel like that safety. It's almost like that anonymity in a crowd where, like, okay, cool, I'm with my friends, I'm with a group of us now, it's all good. I did the solos earlier this morning, it's all good. But yeah, no, that's kind of what made me want to continue with it, was just that challenge, that personal challenge of being able to go forth and perform when placed in that super high stress situation. It was high stress for me anyway. Some people listening to this may be like, man, I don't care, I just go out and do what I do. And it's like, okay, you're a psychopath, cool, good for you. But you're not wired like the normal human, where the normal human is like, yeah, that's kind of scary, like, there's people, like other people, evaluating me and judging me, and like, literally it's a judging sheet, and that's kind of like inappropriate normally to just judge someone, but this time it's like I signed up for it. So definitely putting yourself out there it is an interesting challenge. And I think that it's not only the piping and the Scottish arts that it helps you get ready for, but it's a whole nother level of humaning that it prepares you for later on in life. At the time, when I was 15, 16, I didn't realize it. When I was sitting there interviewing for jobs later on in like my late teens, early 20s and stuff, it started making a lot more sense. Like, oh, I've done this before. I kind of have that like anxiety and that buildup and that like nervous excitement of, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to talk to these folks and I'm going to show them what I got. And it's like, I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. Right? Cool. Let's do this. But for folks who haven't done soloing, what do you have that really prepares you for that one-on-one kind of thing? I don't know.
Good point. What made you want to make your 2020 return to solo contests?
And end.
And end the end to your return.
Yeah. So, I've realized that I'm very fortunate, very blessed to be here in my 30s now. I can still play pipes well. I've been around long enough, I had one friend die of cancer a while ago. And so I've kind of started to realize that frailty and that finite nature of human life, and realize that we don't have forever. There is a limited amount of time. There's a limited number of opportunities you get, and then they're gone. It is done. There is no do-overs. There is no second chances. Good day, sir, as they say in Willy Wonka. And you're done at that point. And so it kind of got me thinking, do I want to be in my 40s or my 50s and sitting there, unable to do a Burl now or a Krunlu Amok or something like that, saying, gosh, dang it, I really wish I had gotten back into solos when I had the chance. And more than that, being able to continue to contribute to the community. Because, I've gotten so much out of piping and drumming. I've gotten so much out of pipe band and the people here in the community, not just in terms of, the musical stuff, but just life in general. So much. Heck, I could do a whole series of podcasts on that. So what am I going to do to give back? Because that's kind of one of the things that bothers me is, and I didn't realize this when I was 15, 16. And if you're like the 16, 17, 18-year-old kid listening to this, I don't begrudge you. But if you have the fastest fingers and you can play the fastest jig in your band, so what? What does that win you? What does that get you? What does that do for you or anybody else? So freaking what? It's not about you. And that's kind of what hit me a while ago is it's not about me, which is kind of odd to say that's a motivating factor to get into solos. Well, here's why. I realized that, my capability is got a time limit on it. I'm going to wake up one morning and I'm not going to be able to play that way anymore. Or, I'm not going to, God forbid, you have some horrible disaster happen to you and you lose an arm or something like that, Again, that's happened to friends of mine. So what is my fail-safe to stay engaged and involved in this community if, heaven forbid, something that, apocalyptic should happen? I want to get involved in judging. I want to get involved in teaching. I want to start creating the credentials and the bona fides that will enable me to stay involved in the community. And through that and giving back my knowledge from what I've learned from like 2 decades of dance piping and almost 3 decades of band piping now and soloing, how do I put myself in a position where I can continue to give back and be engaged in that manner? And I was looking into it, and it required that you be a successful solo competitor at high level solos like grade 1 and open. And I was like, well, I got to check that box, don't I? Or be involved in a pipe band at the higher upper levels like grade 2 and above. And unfortunately, here in the American Southwest, we just don't have the pipe band contests. We just don't have the pipe bands to support that.
So what's different, if anything, about playing solo versus playing with a band, aside from the obvious, it's more than just you?
Yeah, so obviously how you express the tune, first off. And I think in our own band, this has been no more or no less obvious than the expression of the infamous Strasbe. In solos, there's a particular way you play that as a band. We've kind of gone back and forth in different ways that we play that. Definitely I think the way you express that is huge. The way you break from certain tunes is also huge. Probably the biggest thing, like I was kind of saying before, is the stress that you have when, another person is judging you right now. Like they are judging you one-on-one. Like this dude or dudette, they are straight up watching you and making notes about you on a judging sheet. It's like, you shouldn't judge people. No, I signed up to be judged today. I paid money to be judged today. Like I came here early to tune up so they could judge me properly. And so that's kind of the weird dynamic there, is the fact that you are individually being judged. And you just don't get that in pipe band usually. Caveat, if you screw up bad enough, they will judge you individually in pipe band.
This one guy on the end here. Oh, man.
Yeah, right. Suspect piper on pipe major's right. It's like, oh, you mean the piper who was strutting off his bass drum because it was double toning on the march-in? Yeah, that guy. Yeah, and then you see the judge kind of just hover around that particular piper the whole contest. And it's like, yeah, they're just waiting to see what other mistakes you're going to make. It's basically a solo, more or less.
Sounds like you have experience being that guy.
Maybe once. Once or twice. Once, definitely.
So what do you like about solo contests?
Oh, geez. I think the better question is, what do I dislike about solo contests?
Oh.
So, first off, they're incredibly stressful. And, well, I mean, the timing. Geez, where do you start? There's so many reasons to hate them. Solos require you, but you still sign up for that pain anyway, right? So solos, you have to be there super early typically, especially like in the junior grades, like grade 4, grade 3, stuff like that. You got to be there dark and early, 8 a.m., 7 a.m. You're getting there to tune up. I remember for my solos in Pembroke, I would sometimes be at the games like at 7 or 6:30. And at the time, my parents would have to figure out a way to get me there early. And I remember like a couple of times I got dropped off at the field, like when I was 17. And then they would go back to the hotel and they would have breakfast. And meanwhile, I'm there practicing and getting warmed up so I can play my Pembroke. at 8 o'clock or 8:30, whatever it was. So that was definitely one of the things that I it's kind of one of those bittersweet things when you're going through it. You're like, this sucks. I can't wait to be in a grade 1 band or grade 1 solos, like, because I get to play it like in the afternoon. But on the other hand, that, like, looking back on it, like, there's just something about the smell of the air in California or wherever you're at like 7 in the morning when there's mist on the field still, and it's kind of like 60 degrees and it's kind of cold and your nerves are kind of jumpy and giddy, and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, And so there's just like that ambiance, if you will, of excitement overall that builds. And so that's kind of one of the things I really love about soloing is that excitement, that nervous energy that's there. Like, what's the difference between worry and excitement? Worry and excitement are both, you are looking forward to an event and you have elevated heart rate, you have elevated blood flow, your vasodilation is occurring, all sorts of things like that. One is you're afraid of the outcome. The other is you're excited about the outcome. In solos, you don't know which to have because you're going to go give it a go and see what happens. So that's one of the cool things about solo playing is the fact that you get to go out there and you get to show what you have in an individual capacity. And not only that, but it's been an opportunity for me to kind of build those like personal relationships, if you will, like one-on-one with the judge, but with a very brief interaction. But at the same time, you can go out there and you can talk with your pipes, you can talk with your mouth, right? And so, like, everyone's heard of pipe band politics. Ooh, well, let's dive into pipe band politics. This is a fun conversation to have. So, pipe band politics and soloing. You can talk with your fingers, you can talk with your mouth. And I've never understood, well, I take that back. Initially, when I first started out when I was a kid, I would hear that phrase and I didn't understand it. I was like, huh? Like, I don't get it. Like, whatever. I just kind of go, like, I have Cold Stone ice cream afterwards and I go play bagpipes. It's all fun. And then, like, as I got older, I started to figure out what that phrase meant, and it really started to make sense. So one of the things that I really appreciate about solos is just like the humility that's required, because you are submitting yourself to the tutelage of a master, right? And whether or not you agree that that person is a master of the craft or not, you have agreed by purposes of signing up for this, you are agreeing to their recommendations of you in this grade level, their feedback, etc. You have now agreed and signed up for, yep, I'm going to take your feedback and off we go. Not everybody does. And I think right, wrong, or indifferent, if you're signing up to solo, you've signed up to shut up and put up. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Like, even if the judge is wrong, and sometimes the judge is wrong, like, heck, look at Major League Baseball. The umpire is wrong like 1% to 2% of the time, right? The judges are going to be wrong in solos too. Sometimes, sorry, they're wrong. But you take the good with the bad and off you go. And that's one of those like lessons of life overall that you learn from solos, along with everything else, just that stress inoculation for interviews, etc., that you get from soloing. I see you trying not to yawn and taking a deep breath instead. That was good. Well done. Well done.
Called out.
But yeah, that's really interesting because, like, when we talked with Ed, he said something kind of similar. He said, if you're there, basically you're being judged, and it's hard to be a judge. It's hard to hear everything. It's hard to, if you don't believe that, take a clipboard and walk around your band. Once we get back to band practice, walk around your band while they're playing a set and write down everything as if you were a judge. Because we did that at one practice, and I was like, this is hard. You remember you were actually judging that mock contest.
I did one of those. That was my first time I'd ever been asked to do something like that. In like 20, almost 30 years of piping, that was a first time experience for me earlier this year. And so it kind of blew me away. And that's one of the things that going forward, I keep seeing in practice now. I want to create a band of like junior pipe majors. I want to create a band that, like, anybody in that band, if it's like, hey, I need you to go call this march off right now, they can. And because if you've never done it, it's super awkward and super difficult to be like, Ben, by the way, quick, march. Like, if you've never done that and you've never like understood how to like call it off with the right tempo and everything, it can be kind of difficult. That being said, the same is true to judging and listening and critiquing and giving that kind of critical feedback that's actually helpful, rather than like that broad overall, you guys sucked, or your drums are bleh. Like, no, I want you to tell me exactly, is it in the first time through or the second time through of the Straths Bay? If so, was it the third or fourth bar that we didn't hold that E doubling long enough? It's like, what? And so being that hyper focused and that hyper specific, it helps you, it helps you become a better player too, because then you're listening to yourself with that own level of critique as well as those around you.
Yeah, and then you can understand when you get something written on a score sheet that you're like, I don't get this, or I that's a crazy detail. I can't believe they picked up on that. You know, either way, you're like, okay, I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. Suspect Fs. Excuse you.
What is personally your biggest challenge about solo competing? I know we've talked about a lot of challenges, but your biggest challenge?
Oh man. Well, so there's kind of been a couple of different phases of life where I was solo competing, kind of pre-marriage and pre-kids, and post-marriage and post-kids. So pre-marriage and pre-kids, the biggest challenge was just getting to contests. Like, that was hard because it took money, it took time, and I didn't exactly have any of that available. And that was
all
super.
Of that now, right?
Look at Kelly with the jokes.
I had to set it up too good.
You know, so now that I have all the time and all the money in the world, you know, it's like the trick this last time was, you know, it definitely, shoot, I was giving someone else in the band a hard time earlier today, actually, on IM about this. I was like, dude, time or money, you can never have both. Choose one. And, you know, these days, shoot, it's kind of like both are still an issue, because, you know, the kid's got a loose tooth. Is he going to need surgery for like this ear thing? On the other hand, do I have time for this like band thing? Because now I've got responsibilities to 3 other people in the house. Like, the kid wants to play with me. Like literally, he wants to hang out and play video games. How cool is that? Another human wants to hang out with me and play video games. And he thinks I'm cool young. Right now. Yeah, exactly. They're still young. You know, my wife, she's like gorgeous. This hot girl wants to hang out with me. Like, I'm not going to ignore her, but she usually wants to watch Downton Abbey, but whatever. Still, you know.
I like that show.
Yeah. So Thomas Barrow was a piece of crap. That's a whole nother conversation. You know, so, you know, you've got those relationships to manage, and then you've got, oh, I need to learn this new tune, and I need to learn how to express this tune, and I have to listen to this tune. I have to listen to my playing of this tune. So the biggest challenge has been in the last couple months, especially when I was getting into soloing this year, was figuring out like how to artistically express stuff. So what I would do is Saturdays, I would like record myself playing, and I would put it on a YouTube. I created my own private YouTube channel, and I would make the videos unlisted, and I would listen to it on my car on the drives to and from work. And, you know, I would listen to the video over and over and over again. And I would listen like, I want to hold that E a little bit longer. I want to, ooh, that F was good. That's right there. I messed that up a little bit. And, you know, being able to find that time to practice, that is super difficult now. Like, time is at an absolute premium beyond what I could have imagined. So being able to scrounge up time wherever you can, that is super key and super critical. What I've been able to do is, like, you got to think unconventionally, think out of the box, think unorthodox ways you can practice. Do you qualify driving along in your car on your hour commute, listen to a tune and playing on your steering wheel as practice time? I do now, absolutely, because like that mental focus and that mental capability. And let's be honest, how focused do you have to be when you're driving 6 miles an hour? Like, yeah, it is what it is, right? So being able to focus on the tune to that level of degree of specificity and listen to it 2 or 3 times. And when you're listening to a 6-minute set 2 or 3 times, that's only 18 minutes at max. Not bad, right? Out of an hour commute, oh geez, wow, I got time for some other like even pipe band podcasts or something like that in between.
Whoa.
So what? So, time has been one of the biggest challenges, in being able to think unorthodox about what you qualify as practice and making the most of that time. So, like, I was joking a while ago when I first came back to the band after, 5 or 10 years, whatever it was, of a hiatus there because I just couldn't make it to practice. I was riding the light rail, I was riding the train, and when I would get to practice, that wasn't the first time I had played with the band that week. It was the 75th time I'd played with the band that week, because I was listening to the band and playing along every single day, 3 or 4 times through both MSR and medley, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to work every week. So, playing with the band, it was a breeze after that, because I had played 75 times that week. Maybe 75 times is a little high, but still, even if it was like a third of that, maybe if it was like 25 times, okay, that's still a lot, right? The same thing with the solos. By the time I'm playing in front of that judge, that's not the first time I played that tune. That's like the 150th time I played that tune. Even when I learned the tune, like I learned 2 marches and 2 Strauss bays back in January and February to be able to compete with them in March. So I had to put that all together super fast and condensed, and the timeline was like super short, and then off we go.
Do you think competing solo has helped you improve your piping? And if so, how?
I think solo competing definitely does, because it requires you to improve your execution. Like just basic fundamental execution. Absolutely it does. Like going back to that diffusion of responsibility, standing in the circle with 10 or 15 of your other best friends, all playing pipes and drums. You're not as worried about the judge watching just you. So you kind of feel like, if I miss this doubling or this grace note, not that big a deal. It's all good. But when you're soloing, you don't have that level of anonymity, and it's hypercritical. For example, my last solos I did, the judge was giving me feedback saying that he saw false fingerings on me playing a high G that I know I wasn't doing, and I've got video to prove it because my friends were there with a high quality, zoomed in telephoto lens, watching my hands and like videoing the whole thing. So it's like, no, I wasn't, but okay, if you think that's what you saw, I at least need to be aware of the fact that the way I play, it gives the judge that perception, that impression. So that level of, critical feedback, that makes you a much better player for band, because quite frankly, you don't get that in band. As long as it wasn't a train wreck in band, right on, you got it. We got a chance to have some feedback recently from Jack Lee. He came down from Canada to the band last fall, and he gave some interesting feedback, even some of his feedback about certain doublings and things like that. He was kind of like, yeah, you can get away with doing this. Okay, cool. I know you can get away with doing that in band, but even Jack Lee just said you can get away with doing that in band. Cool, all right. You can't get away with that in solos, period. There is that individual one-on-one mandate that you play perfectly every single note, every single time. And if you're not sure of that, go and check out on Vimeo. You can go check out the Glenfiddich Championships for the last couple of years. And those guys, they've got to play their P-Brucks absolutely perfect every single time. A few of them, there's a couple of oops moments, and you can catch them. And so it's like one of those things that helps you as a solo player, gives you that feedback to realize this is why it matters. This is why it's important that you play perfectly every single note, every single time, because you can tell. Sorry.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. What has been your favorite solo competition set and why?
I think overall the Hornpipe Jigs has been my favorite solo competition set. Why? Like, Hornpipe Jigs are fun, man. Like, come on, what kind of question is that?
Well, maybe you're like, I like to show off my technique, in this set.
Yes, I do appreciate the opportunity to demonstrate my superb idres in the Stress Be Real, this or that. No, I mean, The Strasberry reel is fun and all. It's not fun, let's be honest. Marches are tough. Strasbays are just a technical like bone grinder, and then reels are, oh my god, I survived the last two. Let's see if I can do this without screwing up. Like that's all the MSR is.
Okay, but wait, hold on. So, in one of our last episodes, you said that your favorite dance set to play was the Strasberry reel.
Getting.
Let me check the record. Yep, that's what you said.
For different reasons, much different reasons. So for like as far as dance sets go, yeah, no, the Strasberry reel is a fun set. But at the same time, the hornpipe reel, when do you play, or the hornpipe jig? When do you play the hornpipe jig? At the end of the day, after you've been playing everything else, and you're super exhausted and you're tired. And again, you got to play whatever hornpipe or jig you choose. You got to play it like 15 times. Good luck with those burros, kid. Oh, you want to do the one with the shakes instead? Good luck with those shakes, right? Yeah, no, just the hornpipe jigs. They're just fun. Like the last time I competed, I think I did Tambane's Lum and Cutting Bracken. You know those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does. Like nice traditional, just a solid driving dot cut hornpipe, and then cutting bracket, a nice traditional 6/8 jig. And I don't know, they typically have a really nice, light, fun feeling to them and stuff like that. I just have really good experiences with playing those tunes, and so that's why I like them. They're fun. Yeah, they're just fun.
Cool. I didn't mean to call you out. I was just just saying.
Oh, but you did.
I mean, I did. That happened.
Hard.
Last question.
What advice do you have for someone who's considering competing solo for the first time?
Geez. So if you were competing solo for the first time, expect to do bad. And by that, I mean, geez, that's tough. I don't mean that in a negative way, like you're going to go out there and you're going to suck. No. Hey, guess what? You're going to go out there, you're not going to win anything. Like that's your overall goal is you're not going to win anything. Expect that up front. But your overall goal is to play a nice tune for the judge. If you can play a nice tune for the judge on a nice pipe, great. That is winning. Like regardless of how the judge chooses, because again, the judges are human and judges have biases. Trust me. I actually, part of my bachelor's degree focused on human bias and decision making. There's an interesting book by a guy named Max Bazerman, who's a professor at, I think it's Harvard or MIT, talking about that stuff. But anyway, judges are biased. Let's go ahead and just like stipulate that, right? Right. Okay, cool. Judges are biased. Cool. Even if the judge is biased, the random person walking by, let's assume some random dude walking by, you got Joe Schmo YouTuber who has like 2.2 million followers on YouTube. He came to the Highland Games today. He's going to watch your contest and he's going to record you playing and he's going to put you on YouTube. You're going to be exposed to 2.2 million people tomorrow and you don't even know who this guy is because apparently he's huge in a particular community on YouTube, right? All right, cool. If you have a nice tune on a nice pipe, you're good. Cool. Like that's your goal. And it's weird. Like I've never actually thought about that out loud, but that is the kind of weird dynamic we live in today. That so what if you don't win the contest today? You may have an impression that far outlasts any contest that you may be involved in. Example, certain high profile funerals. Those people, they have a impression that is far beyond any Highland bagpipe contest. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it is definitely out there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, advice for someone to go in to compete: play a good tune on a good pipe. Beyond that, it's all gravy. If you get a medal, cool. If not, as long as you played a good tune on a good pipe.
I'm gonna write that down because that's going in the description. Play a good tune on a good pipe. That's it. To sum it all up, last question, why do you do this? Why are you in a pipe band? Why do you play? But what is this whole thing all about for you?
Jesus?
I mean, that's your answer. I'm just asking.
Sure.
No, so overall, why pipe bands? Why I do this kind of stuff? So, I started getting involved with pipe bands 20 years ago, and the quality and caliber of people you meet in this, and the diversity of people, I don't think you can match anywhere else. It's a subculture. You can pick your weird subculture, and you'll find interesting, diverse people regardless. Pipe band is the one that I've chosen, plain and simple. It is providing extremely unique opportunities, extremely unique perspectives, and extremely unique challenges that I have been training 20 years to meet and match. At the same time, it also provides that opportunity to dig back and find your heritage. And a lot of these websites, like the Family Tree and like the Family Heritage, Ancestry, DNA stuff, they're big on that. People want to know, who am I? Where did I come from? And that's what I think is big in the pipe band stuff and whatnot, is understanding who you are, where you came from, and just kind of getting back to your roots.
Thank you for being on the show. This was great. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this show, then support us on Patreon for exclusive content, as well as the video of us recording this. We'll have special exercises we'll be writing, as well as tips and tricks with tenor drumming and other instruments to come. Subscribe to us on YouTube for some tenor tutorials and possibly other tutorials later on. And like us on Facebook at Podband Pipecast.